Pretty exciting year for Banyan. You're looking at our project site, and for those of you that have been shareholders and following this story, you know we had a big drill season this year, 43,000 meters targeting that 5 million ounces of plus 1 gram that we think goes into our mine plan. When you look at our project, you know, similar to the last one, we've got amazing infrastructure, roads, power, hydropower right across the property. That's a substation that you see there, and even cell phone service. So pretty exceptional project area. You know, gold and silver are making new all-time highs, and that's been a major theme here. The cash flow of the majors and the profits that we're seeing, eventually they're going to have to redeploy that into acquiring ounces, resources, and reserves. I also thought it was really interesting to hear that Morgan Stanley was starting to recommend that people increase their portfolio from a 1% allocation in precious metals to 20%. What that might do in terms of driving the prices of some share prices of gold miners, both majors and juniors, you know, there's just not enough gold mining companies, really, if that's a true change in allocation. And then, of course, as Brian talked about, the major gold buyers, the digital chain, blockchain-backed Tether, who are purchasing gold, there's a really big change in the gold market, and I think it's something that the retail market really hasn't paid attention to. So that's part of why I think we're undervalued, but you know, the other main 5 reasons, which I'm going to talk to you about through this whole presentation. With Banyan, you get a dedicated team that's aligned with shareholders, which has been successful and will continue to be successful on delivering shareholder value. That's our focus. We've got a great project, and we've got extreme leverage to gold and now the price of silver. This is a generational opportunity. These types of big deposits are very, very rare, and our mineralization starts right on surface. But having a deposit that could be a 300,000 ounce producer on its own is very significant. That's the type of project where a major makes an investment and they build the mine plan, yes, based on your 10 or 15-year mine plan, but it runs for 20 or 30 years because it's a very big deposit. We have that high grade, and you'll see that our new geological model and what we've been delivering in terms of results is proving that out. You know, we want to show that this has very substantive high grade starter pits that will drive the economics. And remember, 1 gram was an important number back when gold was $1,800. What will people start really thinking the new threshold for open pit project is? At $5,000 gold. I didn't even think I'd be able to say $5,000 gold today because last week we weren't there yet. You'll see Banyan's got a strong treasury. We've got some exceptional shareholders. And further to both what Brian and Rick were saying, what matters, you know, some people have been taking profits, but what matters is that very sophisticated investors are entering Banyan now, and we've seen that since October. Some very well-known mining entrepreneurs and funds have decided that Banyan is one of their picks, and they're not investing for a one-bagger. And infrastructure, when you're building a mine, that is very important. You know, having a highway through the property, having a power line and a hydro dam right nearby, that is will save us a tremendous amount in capital and operating cost. And our big achievement last August, 2 million ounces of indicated, a new geological model with almost 100% conversion rate. That also shows that this deposit has tremendous consistency in the deposit. Yukon's pretty hot. We've seen some pretty exciting investment, Pierre Lassonde and others coming to the Yukon. You know, this is a reduced intrusion deposit, very similar to some of our neighbors, Snowline and Sitka. We now have 720 kilometers. You can see we're just 40 kilometers from the community of Mayo. The hydro dam is right where it says Silver Trail Highway, and that power line goes right across our property. Hecla on our northern border, and that Eagle mine that's for sale to the north. And of course, there have been numerous parties looking at that. And while we don't know the date, we know that it could potentially be in 2026. Our updated resource, there you can see the numbers. We used a 0.3 cutoff so that people could see the growth from our previous cutoff in our resource, as well as the grade. But take a deeper look. Look for the high grade. Go to a 0.55 in the sensitivity table, and you'll see there's almost 5 million ounces of 1 gram there. The deposit, we've only drilled it off to 200 meters. We might have to start drilling deeper because that was another rule of thumb at $1,800 gold. We know this resource was done at a 2050 gold price. Here you were looking at the high-grade zones, which go east-west across the property, you see on this plan map. The pink and the red were +2 grams and +1 gram. So those are our high-grade starter pits over there to the left at Airstrip, in the middle, power line. We put 50% of our drilling this year, with over 100 holes still to come, into the Airstrip deposit, where we found that 16 meters of 9 grams, 40 meters of 4 grams, generally higher grade. Airstrip was always 15% higher grade. We just started drilling again on it back in 2025, knowing that we could expand this zone where we see this felsic dike that intersects the calcareous metasediments. What that means is it's a reaction creating some high grade, and we'd never even drilled the whole up-dip portion of it. Power line, again, you'll see a selection of results here, 2 grams, 3 grams, 16 grams, not the normal grades you think of when you thought of the old Banyan. I'm trying to make sure that people understand Banyan now has a very significant and consistent high-grade component that is lithologically constrained. Looking at our silver, back in 2021 when we drilled this hole, and you can see it has a long intersection, 100 meters of 300 grams, but 13,000 grams over 2.9 meters. And I'm going to mention that again. That's in the bottom south part of Zone 1. Zone 2 and Zone 3, we've now hit silver veins over 18 times, and we have 6 veins that we've defined. One of them, which we're going to zoom in here and see right near hole AX142, and we'll have another video showing that. But at a 20 meters away, we now intersected 10,000 grams over 1.7 meters, or 5,600 grams per ton over 3.4 meters, again within a broader, wide intercept. And we believe that's the same vein 20 kilometers away at depth. The majority of these intercepts are above 100 meters. That very high-grade one was intersected at 140 meters. And you think, well, why is that important, Tara? What is the economics? What's the potential significance of this? Well, this is a 3 kilometer by 2 kilometer zone where we found 6 veins. And remember, we were drilling 100-meter spaced holes across this area. So it's very easy to miss a 1-meter target or a 3-meter target. And the very high-grade veins that were mined at Hecla next door, and yes, their average grade was in the order of 1,800, they were 4 to 6 meters wide. So now that we've hit some of them and we understand the structural control, and hitting that hole this year, 803, was a very big technical success because we understand the structural control on that specific vein. And in fact, you'll see in our plan map when I get back to there, because I've got some more to talk about on silver, and I'll show you a section that we may have intersected this same vein or a family of veins 1.5 kilometers to the north. So pretty exciting on the silver. Meanwhile, we have a very big gold deposit, and it has this exceptional infrastructure. You know, Yukon generally is going to connect the grid to BC. I'm going to have to speed up because I'm going too slow. Here's the plan map of the gold. Some very big step outs, a kilometer to the east and the west. The whole southern boundary is now open to expansion. Here's that silver vein, and you can see it where we intersected it over on your left. That's a conceptual model of it, and imagine that it goes 20 meters into the page, and it's located near exceptional infrastructure. Lots of exploration upside. We've only explored 2% of our 720 square kilometers. This year's program, we'll be opening our camp in a month. We'll have 4 drills turning in March, focusing on another 40,000 plus meters. We will focus on our high-grade gold, also a little bit of our silver. Look for us to update our resource in second quarter and a PEA in the fall of 2026. There'll probably be some external catalysts, that mine cells next to us, and with the other exciting developments in the Yukon. We're continuing to advance this towards our PEA. Look for more news on that. And in terms of valuation, you know, going to Rick and Brian's point, capital's going to go to the projects which are undervalued. And when you looked at our share price, I would have noted that since we got over $1, we've had over 50 million shares traded. So investors have made the decision that $1 is their new entry point, and they're not investing in a speculative Banyan to get a one-bagger. So if that's their entry point, we're trading at $60 Canadian, US, just based on our gold with zero value for our silver. I think that's what makes us very compelling. And we're very rare, you know, almost 8 million ounces, is a project that really is exceptional. You'll have to come talk to me about our share registry. We've got some great shareholders. We've got research coverage with some price targets from $2 to $3, and people like Brian and Rick covering us. And I invite you to come talk to me about all the other exciting developments in the Yukon and how Banyan's going to add value for you in 2026.